Welcome back. The time is 26 minutes past 9, and you're still tuned into your home of humanitarian journalism, Salam Media. And in a bit, we'll be shifting our focus now to the humanitarian crisis that's unfolding in Myanmar, as Myanmar continues to, go through this crisis that's escalating. The United Nations came out and highlighted the unprecedented level of human suffering and a warning of a surge in transnational crime. Ethnic groups and recent movements continue to confront Myanmar's military government, which has struggled to maintain control since a coup in 2021. This unfolding tragedy has especially impacted the Rohingya people, many of whom have been forced to flee the country. And to help us discuss the realities on the ground and the plight of the Rohingya, we're joined by Zia Hero. He's a photographer based in the Cox's Bazar and founder and editor of Rohingya Photographer magazine, and he's also a recipient of the Prince Claus Seed Award and the UNHCR Nansen Refugee Award. Zia, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really, really appreciate you giving us your time and joining us for this interview.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this interview about Myanmar and the Rohingya crisis in our current state.
Definitely. I think the story of the Rohingya is one that deserves to be told, and a bit more attention needs to be shared on it. And I think, as someone that captures the stories of the Rohingya refugees daily, can you describe just in summary the human impact of this crisis as it continues to unfold? And what are some of, the key concerning, stories that have stood out for you during this time?
Okay, since the Myanmar military coup in 2021, the the conflict escalating across Myanmar, the armed group, the insurgent armed group of the ethnic communities and ethnic groups in Myanmar are out of control now and fighting against the Myanmar military and taking control of most of the territories in Myanmar, and they're fighting, escalating across every state and regions, and then the Myanmar military uh, target civilians and the ethnic communities, the minorities across the country, and then the community, the civilians are facing daily bombardments and daily violence and massacre, and millions of people are right now displaced across the country. And in Arkan state, the Rohingya people are facing the second wave of genocide as uh, the the conflict escalated between the Arkan army and Myanmar military. The Rohingya people, the remaining Rohingya people after 2017 genocide, are facing again the mass violence and the massacre, and they are caught in the crossfire between the Arkan army and Myanmar military. This time, both Arkan army and Myanmar military targeting the civilians, the villages of Rohingya, and abducting the Rohingya and forcing them for conscriptions, and targeting the Rohingya group while they were trying to flee to Bangladesh for safety and protection, as there is no safe area, no safe place in Arkan. So they were escaping uh, the violence, and the Arkan army attack the Rohingya and fire them openly, and hundreds of the Rohingya people were massacred, and hundreds of the Rohingya people were abducted and still in the custody in the prison of the Arkan army, and family even don't have the communication with these people abducted by the Arkan army. And this recent development, the the uh, recent conflict in Arkan state resulted more than 30,000 Rohingya were forced to flee to Bangladesh again, and still there is no solution for the Rohingya crisis, and even the million of the Rohingya people who fled the genocide in 2017 and taking shelter in Bangladesh in the refugee camp in Cox's Bazar are facing the severe humanitarian crisis as the wall is forbidding the Rohingya and giving less attention to the Rohingya crisis. The Rohingya people in the refugee camp in Cox's Bazar are facing the severe humanitarian crisis and many other challenges for food, shelter, and protection. And now the impunity uh, offered to the Myanmar military leadership and the other ethnic insurgent groups are impacting to the life of the already persecuted the Rohingya people minority Rohingya minority in Arkan.
mm,
So the countries, the international communities should coordinate diplomatic efforts to push Myanmar toward the meaningful political change. I think the international community must maintain targeted sanction on Myanmar's military leadership and the Arkan army for their war crimes and massacre on already persecuted Rohingya minority and the other civilians across Myanmar.
mm,
And the countries should work together to provide Rohingya with protection and preventing them from becoming the victims of more violence and forced migration. And
mm,
the global solidarity and continued pressure on Myanmar are essential for to ending this humanitarian tragedy once and for all. So the international community must address uh, the root cause of the statelessness and discrimination and exclusion in Myanmar. Otherwise, the cycle of displacement and the suffering of the normal civilians like the Rohingya people will continue.
No,
Thank you.
definitely. And if there's one thing that really stood out for me is these reports of rising criminal networks in Myanmar. These include, instances of human trafficking and also arms trading. How has this affected the lives and safety of refugees of where you currently are in camps like those that are in Cox's Bazar?
Of course, while the country is facing the um, mass violence and the massacre, the airstrike bombardment every day, the civilians are, of course, affected mostly. The normal civilians, especially the minority people, are affected mostly. And then so while people don't have a safe safe place to live, while people don't have freedom for movement and right freedom for any other work and livelihood opportunities, so the communities are engaged to the more uh, violent activities, and they were forced to trade uh, the arm and other drug because of the situation, the circumstance for them uh, to you know to to engage in more violent activities. Um, so that's what happening also with the Rohingya, as the Myanmar military and the Arkan army control the area and stop and block the pathway, the movement of the Rohingya people. So they were just stuck in their um, in their village, and where they are they are not allowed to flee to Bangladesh, and uh, they are just most of the Rohingya people are starving, even uh, because of lacking food and other resources. So the youth in the community were forced to join the Arkan army, and they were sent to the front line. They were sent to the forced labor in their armed trade and in their drug trading at the border, as they have no way to escape, and as they were totally trapped by the Arkan army. So the communities are being affected, and the Rohingya minorities who are already persecuted and who face the genocide in 2017 are mostly affected and uh, being persecuted and being uh, facing still are facing the genocide, as the second wave of genocide is continued. The world is watching, and the world is doing uh, nothing to stop the genocide and the violence on the Rohingya minority, Rohingya Muslims in Arkan, Myanmar.
No, definitely. Sahad, unfortunately, we have run out of time, and we're going to leave it here for now. But I'm pretty sure there's so much more that you and I still have to unpack, and I would really like to chat to you again in the not so distant future.
Thank you so much.
There you go.
See
That
you.
was Sahad Sai Rio coming to us live from Cox Bazar. He's a journalist. He's also a photographer and editor of a Rohingya Photographer magazine. And he's coming to us live from Cox Bazar out in Myanmar. So very, very interesting and very, very concerning turn of events in that part of the world. And the United Nations just coined it a humanitarian crisis that's becoming forgotten in essence. They said it's a forgotten crisis, and it'll be really interesting just to see how it unfolds. But we'll be here, Salam Media, giving you the latest and giving you first-hand experiences and stories from those that are in the heart of the storm and are literally surviving each and every day of the injustice and the genocides that are occurring all across the world. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, news and views continues after this.
We are here in the middle of a Zahra neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is already destroyed. More than 17 towers are down. Here, as you can see, the firefighters trying their best to help. The people are still under the rubble. A lot of the people.
Join Hamza on his exclusive South African tour as he shares his personal experiences, never before seen footage, and powerful insights on the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is more than just a talk. It's an invitation to witness Gaza through the lens of Hamza Sha'alan. Don't miss this opportunity to meet the photojournalist who brought Gaza's pain and perseverance to the world in its darkest moments. Follow Salam Media on social media pages